I'm MagicNews,
And I'm JC Sum, and you're watching
MagicNewsTelevision.com.
What's a magician to do when working shifts on a stage, busking at Genting Highlands in Malaysia on a 3-month contract? 3 months, literally stuck at the top of a mountain, working in a Johnny-come-lately theme park. Oh yeah, interview some of the bigger names that were working there at the theatre. Magic News Television sat with JC Sum and MagicNews, and you can watch our time together right now. Hi, good to have you here. My name's James, and welcome to another interview from our vaults. If this is your first time here and you wish to enjoy more, start by subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss out on anything. Although having retired from touring and gigging with his incredibly illusion show, JC Sum and MagicNews, they cut such a swathe within our community for over 26 years, performing more than 3,500 shows in 34 countries, over 4 continents. Amazing and entertaining literally millions of people. I had the opportunity to see them live. Did you? Well, if not, they're right here, right now.
Oh. Really seedy bar, so we actually met at a really seedy bar. So he was wearing dark sunglasses and a fedora hat, and I just walked in and, no, you know what, tell them the real story.
we met, I think, the first time we actually met, we had heard of each other previously before. I think the first time we actually met was when I was filming a TV show. And basically I got a few magicians to come down, and a mutual friend basically invited her. So she's actually in one of the shots of the street magic segments.
I was still in university, I hadn't graduated yet, and people were saying, oh, JC Sum is shooting a TV special, and Singapore's really small, so news kind of travels around, and I went down for it, and they were in the midst of filming it when, you know, I signed for myself, like, with the camera in front of me, so I was there reacting. So it was really cool because...
Best audience member ever.
Thank you, I should get an award. Yeah, so he made like I think it was a hamster that came out from a cup of coffee. Yeah. So fast forward, somehow I was in a competition. There's this like I don't know, magic competition held at a shopping mall, and I came up second runner up. You know, and to be honest, I hadn't really prepared for it because a lot of the guys who were competing were super serious about getting a title. I just wanted to get the experience, the exposure, the whole feel of performing to like a group of people that I don't know up on stage. So yeah, so news traveled around because once again, Singapore's so small, and
then we happened to meet actually a SAM club,
Singapore Association of Magicians.
They have an annual club show, so that's where I think we were formally introduced for the first time.
Yeah, so there was my boyfriend, and he was there with his entourage, and he asked me if I wanted to come by for, you know, an audition, sort of.
It was a meeting, not an audition.
Well, I took it as an audition, like, oh my god, I must not screw up, right? Because he had a lot of guys in concept magic, you know, kids magicians, you know, all sorts of entertainers, and in Singapore, when you think of illusions, you think of JC, really. So you know, for me, I've been doing my own closer and parlor stuff, but illusions is my first love, and I thought, like, you know, there's no great person in Singapore to learn than from it. He started performing magic when he was a fetus. We've been working together for about 6 years now?
6 years, but I think we really started equal partnership. Then that'll be about 4 or 5 years. 5 years. Yeah.
He started performing magic when he was a fetus. That's what he tells everybody.
My story is, I guess, more typical of the average guy. Liked magic as a kid, watched it on TV, went to the bookstore, got a magic book, learned magic routines from there. So, you know, went to magic shops, got introduced to the local magic club, and took it from there.
It was like a hobby for me. I mean, it started really small, and I actually remember watching Princess Tanko on TV. Yeah, and she was amazing because I think this was like in the early 90s, and it was just so amazing seeing like an Asian woman doing illusions on stage, and that blew my mind. So, you know, since I was a little girl, I always had this as a hobby, but it wasn't really encouraged because I come from a very traditional family. You know, and it's about like study hard, get a real job. Yeah, so I kind of like I got my degree, but I was really working with JC, like, on a part-time basis while I was still studying. And then he told me, well, he asked me like to consider making magic a full-time profession. And I'm like, I think my parents would kill me because I got my communications degree. And I was all set of like thinking of being a journalist with a newspaper, but magic happened. So there you go.
And magic is communication, so it worked out well.
But my parents didn't really buy that.
Because it just wouldn't make sense. So it's a quite long progression. I mean, it wasn't definitely overnight. So, I mean, I started out doing kids shows, doing close-up, stand-up shows, stage shows. Finally, had a chance to do an illusion show. I was probably the one person in Singapore who said you couldn't do an illusion show in Singapore because it just wouldn't make sense, financial sense. But, you know, along the way, I was offered a chance to do it. So I did it, and I thought, hey, maybe I've got to eat my own words and try this out. So we did that, or I did that first, and then we went up, and then we kind of pushed and explored the whole Magic Babe character and as on-stage equals, which is quite unique, especially in Asia. There are very few male-female on-stage equal partners in Magic. Even if they build themselves as equals, there's always one dominant magician and a female assistant or partner. And the way we identified it was really the female must have her own speaking roles, she must have her own individual acts. So you see a lot of the equals that are in Magic traditionally, or they're built as equals, the girl never speaks, or she doesn't have a solo routine. So one of the first things we did was work on her solo routines, which she holds as her own. And even if you watch our show now, you'd see her being very dominant, you'd see her do all the dangerous stuff, the typical masculine acts, and that balances it out. And so that when the audience sees us for the first time, they can tell straight away we are an equal act and not, just a male and a female partner and assistant. So I think that really helped propel us forward, being noticed, the Magic Babe character, our equals on stage, as well as, of course, original illusions and our mega illusions.
Yeah, it wasn't easy because obviously JC had a longer head start, and I really had earned my stripes. So I think close-up magic as well, like worked for me, like the foundations of audience management and just understanding the psychology of magic. And yeah, so I did my Wango shows, and also concurrently I was working as a featured performer for the JC Sum show.
JC show.
Yes. Sorry, JC Scum. So yeah, but I drew female characters like Angelina Jolie in Tomb Raider, Charlie's Angels, women who are not afraid to be feminine but yet kick-ass. So that was how I envisioned my stage character when I was first starting out. But obviously, it takes a lot of work to make a believable stage character, a persona that people like, and yet, it's bigger than life. You know what I mean? So it's, it was just a lot of hard work, but here we are.
Also, to sum it up, hard work, definitely, a good overall commercial product that was both original but had commercial appeal, and I guess always luck. I mean, it's not something that you can ignore. I think YouTube is the world now. I mean, it's not something that you can ignore, and it's part of the whole information age and how people learn and share information. So it's true, a lot of the kids are learning from these YouTube tutorials, not learning it right, or learning just specific moves, not knowing the history. It's not good for the art, it's not good for them as artists. But it's a great way to be introduced to magic, which was once an elite covert art, where we could only glean information from books that we find in the library or the bookstore, and you had to interpret that. The great thing about interpretation, of course, is we get to understand it and try to figure it out for ourselves. But of course, video helps you learn faster. So I think as long as the kids who really want to do magic, they may get started on YouTube, but understand the need to go to books or further proper instructional DVDs that help them with the art, help them with understanding the history and moving forward, and for them to grow as artists, magic artists, I think that's fine. But if they think that they can be the next, Chris Angel or Magic Star from YouTube, unfortunately they are wrong.
I've had a whole bunch of jobs. He hasn't. I mean, it's very cool. JC's always been a magician since he graduated from university, went to the army, and he's been doing magic full time, and he's got really awesome designs and for illusions and stuff. But for me, I have had a whole bunch of jobs, because I come from I don't come from a rich family, so I've always been working part-time jobs like my whole time, even when I was like in school, even before university and stuff. My first full-time job was that for a shopping mall as a marketing executive. So my job was to like plan out the festivities and programs for the shopping mall, and it was interesting at first, but after a while it got really routine and boring, and after a short while, about 2 years, I realized, you know what, I need to do something with my life. And that's when I did my degree, because I had saved up the money to do my part-time degree, and that's when I met JC, and that's when I realized that, hey, maybe possibly I could do magic as a full-time job. It was crazy, and Singapore is a place where it's always been inculcated in us since a very young age that you need to get a degree, you need to get a real job, you need to get financial success, you need to get a car, you need to get a house, blah, blah, blah. But, I listened to my heart, and I found out that there's an artist in me that will die if I had to get a full-time job. And even though it was not something that my parents were comfortable about, and they were quite shocked at first. I just went ahead to do it, and I told them, like, you know what, give me 2 years, let me just try to prove to you that I can take care of myself. And the 2 years became 6.
And she's performed all around the world. How do we get from point A to point B?
Yeah, it really depends.
I think like any group of artists or any artist, there's always a collaborative effort, no different from us. Most of the time, I would say, we'd start off with a magic idea. I generally will come up with the design and the structure of the routine in terms of the flow. We're just talking about really the mechanics of it, the presentational method. How do we get from point A to point B while doing the magic technique or methods and get to the final effect? Then I will bring it to Ning and ask her with a fresh eye, without being bogged down with the technical details, the methods and the construction of the illusion or the act. How can she frame it so it becomes an interesting presentation? How can there be motivation? What sort of music does she see it being performed to? Then I throw it to her. She'll come up with ideas and not being restricted by the method or the presentational structure. She often comes up with something, and often we come up with something in between.
Yeah, the thing with us, we're really different. JC is he's learned magic since he was really young. He learned it through books, whereas for me, it was a hobby when I was a kid. Like, I only took it more seriously in like 2000 when David Blaine made street magic more accessible to people.
DVD generation.
Yeah, so it's like really different. Yeah, it's like really different generations, and he's got a certain mindset and a certain foundation. Whereas for me, it's more like conceptual, like, hey, and I'll challenge him, could you do this? How about we do something different? Or I watch a movie or read a really good book, and I tell JC about it, and I say, hey, can we borrow this idea into an illusion or a presentation? And that's how we work from there, because we're so different, it just kind of fits. The producer has spoken.
I think first we have to define what do you mean by magic. Do you mean by commercial magic or magic as an art? I think they're two different things. Magic and an art has a purity in terms of effect and the effect it has on the audience. So the real secret is whatever evokes that, as Paul Harris would say, the art of astonishment, within the audience. But we're talking about being a commercial artist and a performer, that's a bit different, because while you have to evoke that amazement within the audience, you also need to have commercial appeal, a kind of public appeal that people would like, show bookers would like, and you would flick a stage and you could sell tickets.
The producer has spoken. Tom Hanks personally picked him to star in that thing. For me personally, I just met Charlie Fry for Superstars of Magic 2. We're here in Genting right now, Malaysia. I really love how he is so talented. He's such an all-rounder in all forms of magic. He's worked with Ringling Brothers, and he's Charlie Fry. He he does so many things, and he's so humble still. You know, he's just really grounded. And even though he's worked with, I mean, Tom Hanks personally picked him to star in That Thing You Do, and you know, he's still
to be featured in maybe.
Sorry.
To stars. Too strong a word, I think.
Okay, fine. But he was featured in the movie. But still, you know, he's got his head on his shoulders. He's not like cocky and arrogant like a lot of people who can sometimes be, you know, just because they've been on TV or they have their own shows in Vegas or whatever. Charlie Fry and Sherry, they're just so wonderful and so real. So yeah, I really respect that because, you know, you're so good. He knows he's good and he's very confident, but you know, he doesn't need to show that, you know, he's king or anything. So for me, yeah, Charlie Fry is a great role model, and I really respect him.
I have many magicians that I admire. Actually, I admire any magician who pushes the art, especially at the commercial level, and make magic look good in the public eye. So we've met so many magicians around the world, both the hugely successful ones and the successful ones in their own right. And there are just too many to name. I mean, every country I've identified, you know, the top magicians. And one quality I see, they all have high ethics, so no piracy. They always push originality, and you know, they pave the way for other magicians in their own territories. So I admire any of those magicians. We are always looking to the future for bigger projects, exciting.
Yes.
I think we do have long-term goals in terms of brand building, in terms of what we want to achieve and how we're going to achieve that. I mean, our illusions are, you know, 2-3 years in the making. So just by thinking of planning it and then eventually building it, it is a long-term process. It's not something we can just do overnight. Of course, the short-term goals is, you know, what's the next project we can. I don't think we really think short-term, but more mid-term to long-term. So we don't live day by day, or we don't live week by week, but we do live maybe 3 months at a time in that sense of how we plan our projects. But we are always looking to the future for bigger projects, exciting projects, which take 3 to 6 months to really come alive anyway.
Yeah, but I think it's also the important thing is you have to have an open mind, where whatever comes in, opportunities and, you know, serendipity, really just enjoy the moment. I think that's also a part of being a performing artist.
You have to study the works, you have to rehearse, you have to practice. The first distinction I'll make again is, are you doing this as an art, as a hobby for yourself, or do you intend to pursue this as a commercial career? Because I think both advice would be completely different. What you have to define magic for you.
Like professionally, or just like a hobby, like an icebreaker, so magic's great.
But you want to be a student of the art. If you want to be a student of the art and you're just doing it for fun, or serious fun, we'll call it, you have to study the works, you have to rehearse, you have to practice, understand the psychology and everything that makes being a good magician a good magician. But if you want to do it professionally, it's a different ballgame. Besides mastering the art, which is probably 50%, you also need to understand the business, the marketing, how to do it. I mean, it is show business. So it's show and business.
I think for me, the best advice I can think of, if you're doing it professionally, is get a good act. You know, it probably can take you around the world. Keep working, even though you know, people might put you down, but you just have to be really picky on where you hear your advice from. You know, be discerning about people's opinions, because everybody will have different perspectives. So it's not about like what your mom or your parents or your friends think, but the magicians, right, and your real audience. Also work on original acts. What's your USP? What's your unique selling point? You know, what makes you stand out from the rest of the magicians? Because you don't want to blend in, you want to shine, you want to be a star. So I think that is the most important thing, working on your stage personality.
One more thing to add is to always understand that there are many different roads to success. And a lot of people will look at someone they admire, or someone whose success they admire, or the path they take, and they would try to do that for themselves. But that may not work for you, because there are many ways you could work your way slowly. You could be an act that gets spotted. You could do TV. You could win a competition. You could send out videotapes. You could just know the right person. There's so many possible ways that you could attain success. So just remember that what works for someone may not work for you, and you have to find one that works for you.
You know, to have sat with these incredible artists who are so well known was a mega plus. I mean, they are huge, and it's a testament to their strength, passion and openness that they took the time out of their day to sit with Magic News Television. As said before our chat, I got to see them live and they were incredible. I'd be interested to know if you have or had seen them and what was your experience. Oh, if you didn't know already, we are running a mega competition to promote and support our new YouTube channel. The link is below and it's all free. And yes, there will be prizes for everybody. So check it out. As I say, the link is in the description box below. If you want to see any more of our interviews, click on the video over there and enjoy. Thanks for watching. Take care and bye for now.